serve in the armed forces. They urged American troops not to follow illegal orders.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
And that, there it was, right? You can refuse illegal orders. Now, Hegseth calls the video potentially unlawful, and it comes on the heels of Hegseth's threat to court-martial Kelly. Now, Kelly and the 5 other Democrats who appeared in that video are now fighting back together after the FBI Director Kash Patel notified them that the FBI would like to interview them. In a statement saying President Trump is using the FBI as a tool to intimidate and harass members of Congress. No amount of intimidation or harassment will ever stop us from doing our jobs and honoring our Constitution. We will not be bullied. We will never give up the ship. Now, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski is speaking out tonight. She says Senator Kelly valiantly served our country as an aviator in the U.S. Navy before later completing 4 space shuttle missions as a NASA astronaut. To accuse him and other lawmakers of treason and sedition for rightfully pointing out that service members can refuse illegal orders is reckless and flat out wrong. The Department of Defense and FBI surely have more important priorities than this frivolous investigation. Trump, though, has seized on the video and the Democrats in it, accusing them of seditious behavior and specifically telling them on social media, quote, seditious behavior is punishable by death. Now, to say that there, of course, is a pretty incredible thing. The threats from the President of the United States do have real and alarming consequences. Just listen to the threats that Congressman Jason Crow, who's part of the video, says that he's received.
You deserve to die. I hope you all get murdered. I hope you all get throat slashed.
You disgraced America, and I pray you die today, but not before your family does. I pray they die a painful death. Hurry up and die, you worthless traitor.
It's pretty incredible to think about that. Think about people that would call and say that. Every Democrat in that video has received threats, according to the New York Times. But death threats as a result of his words is not something that has recently seemed to bother the President of the United States. Just listen to how he responded after Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene said she received death threats after Trump called her a traitor.
I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Kristen Holmes is traveling with the president, who, of course, has left Washington for the Thanksgiving holiday, so she is out front in West Palm Beach, Florida. Kristen, how involved is Trump in the FBI and Pentagon probes of these Democrats?
Oh, well, he is fully involved. We know the White House is completely on board. We've talked to Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, who said essentially that the White House backs this and that they believe that there was seditious behavior by these Democrats putting forward this video, which they say was encouraging these members of the military as well as the intelligence community to go around the chain of command. And I will tell you that the FBI Director, Kash Patel, was at the White House this afternoon. Same time, we're seeing these letters that we know went from the FBI to the Senate Sergeant of Arms, which serves as essentially the chief law enforcement officer for the Senate as a whole, asking for these various appointments. Now, we don't know what goes on beyond that, but we do know that President Trump is all in on these investigations, on any pushback that we're seeing. And I do, just really quickly, I have to note, you know, that soundbite you played about Trump talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, he actually went on and said she's not a victim, she's painting herself as a victim. And this really is a pattern here. And I know for her, from sources who are close to her, that was jarring to hear him say that because these were very real threats. But you could see that the president, and to some extent, the White House, they are putting that to the side and not taking that into account, and instead doubling down on this narrative. Now, we haven't heard President Trump say anything like he did the first day where he said that sedition is punishable by death.
Right.
He actually walked those comments back a little bit, saying that that's not what he meant. And of course, we heard the White House saying they didn't want these Democratic lawmakers executed. But when it comes to actually pursuing this investigation, these sitting down with these Democratic lawmakers, they have been all in on this. Carolyn Leavitt telling me in particular, when I was asking questions about this, that she still is maintaining that the Democrats were wrong because no Democrats have been able to say if there have been any illegal orders. So there is no backing down from the White House when it comes to this.
All right, Kristen, thank you very much, as I said, in Palm Beach tonight. My panel is here. Mondaire Jones, what do you make of Trump's response to this video? I mean, especially now that they're upping the ante, right? That you have FBI investigations and an investigation at the Pentagon, essentially a court-martial.
It makes my blood boil to see people who risked life and limb for this country treated so despicably by this president of the United States. I know Mark Kelly, right? I've traveled the world with him on a congressional delegation. People in this country would be so proud to see how well he represents this country. I served with Alyssa Slotkin. I served with Jason Crow. What they did was not illegal. It was not inappropriate in any way. If anything, we've got a lot of evidence that this president has already and will in the future encourage illegal conduct. And so just to remind service members of the fact that they don't have to follow unlawful orders is a perfectly appropriate thing to do. And, for a president who has talked often in bad faith about how Democrats have incited violence against him, for him to, especially after his own experience inciting the violent attempted insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th, to proceed to incite violence against these 6 Democratic lawmakers shows that he doesn't actually care about the safety of people and of a lack of, about violence in our politics.
I'm going to play some more of the death threats that have been received. Paul, let me ask you, though, you're obviously a former Army officer and you're the founder of and the CEO of Independent Veterans of America. So how are veterans responding to this? I mean, the 6 Democrats that put this out, what they were saying was something that's in the code of conduct, right? Which is you don't need to follow illegal orders, right? And that's been, everybody serving should know that. But how are veterans reacting to this?
Veterans are not a monolith, but I think this is one of those examples of where they understand how things are supposed to work. They know they're not supposed to follow illegal orders. If anything, the Democrats' video was obvious, clumsy, but everybody in the military from basic training all the way up knows you have an obligation to refuse an illegal order, and that is separate. Now, what the president has done is absolutely uncharted territories. I think he's crossed a Rubicon that should send a chill not just across members of Congress, but against all military folks who've ever served, all retirees. Because what he's saying is your free speech is not protected. I can drag you back onto active duty if you're a military retiree and try you into the UCMJ for sedition, for treason, and threaten you with capital punishment. I mean, this is absolutely egregious, dangerous. It's un-American. It's the stuff you hear in North Korea and in Russia, not in America, because it's not just about Senator Kelly, who is decorated, who is respected.
Right.
There are 2 million military retirees in America. And if Donald Trump can come after one of them for free speech, he can come after any of them.
So is there any legal ground for this? I mean, it's on a certain, you say, I like the word you use, maybe it's clumsy, right? Maybe they didn't need to do it. But there's nothing wrong with telling people something that is a fact, which is what they did. And now the repercussions that could come from this. Is there any legal standing for it?
There's not. As military law experts are saying now, the charges...
And by the way, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I want everyone to know, because they see you here every night, you worked for the Pentagon. Okay,
Yes.
so you are very familiar with what the rules and process would be here.
Yes, and I teach it. This is one of my courses that I teach. And the way I think about it is even the video, in the way in which the Democratic lawmakers describe the law, I'd give them like an A- on their final exam. It's a perfectly good description. Maybe I'd say more about manifestly unlawful orders, but they don't need that in there. It's perfectly reasonable what they said. It's accurate what they said. They are also not just exercising free speech, but they're members of Congress who have as a core constitutional authority as members of Congress to make rules for the government and regulation of the armed forces. That's in Article 1 of the Constitution. They have more authority to speak on these issues than somebody in the executive branch in some respects. And all they are doing is articulating what the actual law is. And I also found it fascinating that there were members of the House GOP veterans who put out a competing video, but their competing video states the same law. They just say you may not refuse a legal order. Correct.
Oh my gosh, now you may not refuse a legal order, but you can refuse an illegal order. I mean, it's kind of absurd or rhetorical, but that's right. It's saying the same thing from their perspective. Mondaire, the death threats that these individuals are receiving are terrifying. What Congressman Crow put out, I'll just play part of that again, that they released from calls that Crow has received.
You deserve to die. I hope you all get murdered. I hope you all get throat slashed.
You disgraced America, and I pray you die today, but not before your family does. I pray they die a painful death. Hurry up and die, you worthless traitor.
So, Monero, obviously you mentioned that you know the people who are receiving these threats, right? You know Jason Crow, who put that out there. We heard Lisa Murkowski say, this is all unacceptable. Are we going to see more people say that in this case?
You know, people talk about a red line, what that red line may be for House and Senate Republicans. And I'll just tell you, as someone who has the experience of serving, that rhetoric essentially means nothing at this point from these people, if it ever meant anything, okay? What are you going to do to stand up to this administration? You have the gavel in the House and in the Senate. Are you going to hold hearings? Are you going to stop giving this president money, funding illegal activity like what we're seeing? And, you know, obviously there was also earlier this week the dismissal of just baloney indictments against James Comey and New York Attorney General Tish James.
Yeah.
Are you going to do press conferences and make it uncomfortable and politically painful for this administration to continue along these lines? Or are you going to do what I saw a House Republican do earlier this week, which was draw a false equivalency and say how terrible it is that the president is doing this and nothing more? I mean, that I appreciate what Senator Murkowski is doing,
Yeah.
but what is she going to do? Is she going to stop confirming this president's nominees?
Tangible repercussions.
You know, what is the leverage that is going to be exercised by members of this co-equal branch of government? Rhetoric means nothing at this point.
So, but what are you hearing from active service members about their feelings and what is an incredibly fraught moment? Not just this, but I mean fraught for the military in many ways right now.
I think it's the latest escalation of a politicization and a weaponization of the military and the Department of Defense and the Secretary of Defense on a level we've never seen before. They are caught in the middle of the worst of our politics every single day. They feel like a political chew toy. But I think it's important to also understand they know right from wrong. This is not about Democrat and Republican. This is about right and wrong. And it's good that Murkowski has spoken out. More Republicans need to do that because they know that this is wrong. This is very uncharted territory because it's also about honor and integrity and trying to ruin a man and a woman, their reputation, right? People who've served our country. It's not about them being Democrats, but to impugn their integrity, to call them traitors.
And we don't want to make this about one person or six people, because obviously you talk about millions of people.
Right.
But Senator Mark Kelly, I think it does stand for some of the best our country has to offer. And I don't know any Democrat or Republican who would disagree with that.
No, and I think that's part of why Trump has targeted him. He's made a list of political enemies and opponents that he wants to target. And that's the really chilling message here, is that if you oppose him on Ukraine, or you oppose him on National Guard deployments, or you oppose him on Venezuela, that he can come after you. And even if he doesn't have legal standing, he can tarnish your reputation. He can create a toxic environment that threatens your family. And he can make it bad for not just him, but for everyone in Congress. This will send a chilling effect across Congress and across the entire country, especially folks who are watching right now. We're thinking, hey, did I post something on my Facebook page that might get me in trouble from back when I was in the military? That is a real fear right now. It's very dangerous.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because it changes the Comey and Letitia James or Adam Schiff or even Mark Kelly, right, of people who I would put way down on Trump's list before now, but of people that he wanted to go after, to open it up to a much wider aperture.
But you know, it's also not lost on President Trump and the people around him that Mark Kelly could well be the next president of the United States in a few years. And so I don't think that this is all happening in a vacuum either.
So Ryan, because of your role as Special Counsel of the Department of Defense, when you have Pete Hegseth involved, specifically with Mark Kelly, and saying there's this investigation going on, and what is the deadline? December 10th, that there's going to be some results of this investigation. What does this mean? What's actually at stake from the military legal perspective, Fox?
So I think what's not at stake is Senator Kelly being convicted. I actually just don't think that hangs in the balance. There's no crime here. And what Secretary Hegseth has done and the president have done have also polluted any attempt to really get at a criminal charge or a conviction because of what's called unlawful command influence, by besmirching the person and already suggesting that they're guilty, all sorts of things like that. So I think what it is it's about a long, drawn-out criminal process to smear a person's reputation, and that's what it's really about. And I think it's about sending a signal to try to chill the speech of others by saying if I'm going to be willing to go after Senator Kelly, then I can go after other people who are not as powerful as him. But I think Senator Kelly is doing the right thing in the moment, which is to stand up and be strong, stand by his convictions, say that he in fact will meet the moment, which he's doing, which I think sends another signal that that's in fact what the nation calls for people who have that kind of honor and are willing to speak about the truth.
Yeah.
It's very different because he's using the Pentagon this time. This is not the Justice Department. This is the weaponization and politicization of the Pentagon in a way we've never seen before. I don't think there is any precedent for this in the time of the modern military.
Yeah, that's, and obviously, I think it's so important you put it that way as to why this moment matters. Thank you all very much. And next, we have breaking news. We have a shocking new leak actually revealing a top Trump official was coaching the Russians how to butter up Trump and get what they wanted from him. Is this how Putin got Trump to push that peace plan that was Putin's wish list? Plus this.
Our country is doing really well, economically, like we've never done before.
Consumer confidence numbers show a very, very different picture. What is the truth? Einstein and Ives will be here tonight. And remember the VW van that survived the California wildfires? This went through the fire. You see the burnt headlight. That van was the only thing standing in that neighborhood in Malibu that was decimated by the flames. And tonight, a big development in this story.